Oh, we're going to bring him on? Okay, there you go. That's what we segue in. You told me to hold on, but here we go. So Monique and D.L. Hughley, for those who don't know, got into a crazy heated argument over a contract dispute of who's supposed to be headline, who's supposed to get paid the most, and those other stuff. Monique said some off-brand crazy topic shit about D.L. Hughley. If you didn't get to see it, please go check it out. And then D.L. Hughley smacked back yesterday with a very educational comment and thought, and I loved it. But anyhow, we got our favorite comedian to come, and he want to weigh in on the subject today. Jamie, without further ado, bring in the man, Rudy Rush.
Double R.
What's up, fellas?
Oh, there you go. Look at that fucking tub.
Hey, hold on a second. D, for 2 seconds, I thought you was Sherry Shepherd because you, well, your head don't match your body, son. Looking like Star Jones out this. I said, yo, what happened to my man, yo?
Yeah.
I missed the Fat Luther. Come on. Oh yeah, y'all got me on today.
Oh man,
this motherfucker got me laughing, sweating. Oh my god,
he's on fire tonight.
Oh, Rudy all swole over there, man. Look at Rudy. Man.
Nah, man, I gotta lose some weight too, man. After you talk about the man boobs, I don't know. What's good, fellas?
Everything's good, man. Everything's good, man.
Good to see you, Rudy. Good to see you, man.
You too, Rod.
Rudy, is comedy the new rap? What's the deal?
Yo, I'm waiting to get my deal. I'm trying to go for G-Unit comedy series. Hey, I've been wanting to check comedians for a long time, so now I think I'm getting a little aggressive. You know what I'm saying? But no, I think you know, as good and as bad as it is, it's definitely put a light on comics that sometimes you don't want, but sometimes it's good to stir up the pot a little bit to have some controversy. So, Chris Rock ticket sales went up. Now with this, I'm sure D.L. and Monique and their respective, fan bases, they'll booster up their ticket sales and do things on their own. But yeah, it's a crazy situation. I'm friends with both of them. I'm more friends with Monique because she's like a sister to me. And I just hate the fact that much like Kyrie Irving, every time that they go through something, all of the past events get drug in. So once this popped off, I was even myself like, come on, Mo, he gotta let it go. Mm-hmm. But then she's a person who does it, much like I said, like a Kyrie Irving. But once they lift the mandate and he's able to play at home and away, now all of a sudden it's all good. You did your thing, you stood your ground, because she was proven right at first, because they tried to blackball her without even trying to show they try to push it to the side. She proved she was right. So in this case, she was on I think she did a live today with her husband, and they talked about there were other things that were happening prior to this all coming into this big mushroom cloud. So they had some underlying beef prior to this, and she mentioned what it was. I think he made some comments about her husband and things of that nature. That's why she went on his family and things like that. It was just crazy. Yeah, you gotta watch her IG live. I think it's still up. If not, I'll get you guys the link.
All right.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, and I feel you, Rudy. I was definitely a Monique supporter in the beginning, and I still am. You know what I mean? I can kind of dig where she's coming from on a lot of levels. But like you just said, man, you got to know when to kind of stop fighting. You know what I mean? You can't go hard all the time. There's a time to take your win. You prove your point. You were right. Now you got to kind of fall back a little bit and just let things marinate, man. And you got to know when to cut it, man. You can't charge ahead all the time,
And this is where, I think my sister may have took a misstep. Forget what happened with D.L. Hughley. She was just at the Hollywood Bowl not too long ago with a show with a bunch of other stars. And I asked how the show was, and she was going in on the old school situation. So that lets you know right there, she's not really focused on being Monique anymore, being the one who's, one of the funniest females in America, funniest comics when she was at her height. She's like a Samoa. She could hoop with the fellas. Mm-hmm. So I think going back and touching on that Lee Daniels and Oprah stuff, like she brings that stuff up on her show. So let's take DL out of the equation for just a second. Just like D said, it's like, yo, you got to let that go. You got to be funny. But now there's a situation with the two of you. Now you bring it on stage, so it's like it's something that everybody's gonna think that that's all you want to do is start controversy. Right. So yeah, I'm a Monique fan, but I think she kind of like she's gonna put herself in a bad position because now nobody's gonna want to work with her on film and on comedy stages. So I don't know what's gonna happen.
Do you think she just caters to a certain kind of demographic of women?
There ain't some angry ones out there. Women be angry for no reason. But no,
yeah, man. They love her.
But they love her because I love her too. Because honestly, you know, it's much like Dame Dash. I'm a Harlem cat, and I love Dame Dash. But you see how crazy they make those people seem, and I'm worried about that part because you know we get so blindfolded by society and all the images that they show us. They can feed us a message. Yo, Dame did more good than he did bad, and he's still not doing so bad. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, much like a Kanye, much like a, you know, like a Kyrie, they make the people who speak out in our behalf, because when I say our behalf, is most of us got the same gripes they got, and they just make them seem to be crazy. So like they, you know, they make Monique right now seem like that's all she wants to do is like fight and complain.
Yeah. Rudy, let me ask you this question. What is the story with the headline? What is the protocol? Because there was an issue with, remember we talked about the thing with Godfrey and T.I. going on after him and stuff. So what is the difference between the actual closer of the show? Because a lot of times you guys have big people on your own shows. So how do you determine who closes the show? And is it an issue if somebody is just as popular as you on the show?
Well, you know, I come from the DMX train of thought. I headline whenever I go on. If I go on first, I'm the headliner. And that's the mentality that you have to have. But once you get to a certain stature, of course, it really relates to the money. And so usually the person who's getting the highest paycheck is the person who is destined to close the show. Not all the time, because I remember with the Kings of Comedy, I believe Steve was the highest paid, but they had to take his role from being a headliner to being the host of the show. And they brought D.L. on, who wasn't on originally. They had Guy Torry and Damon Williams was hosting, and then Steve was actually headlining. But, you know, Bernie and Ced were killing it so crazy that they had to just kind of switch up a bit. So sometimes you could be the highest paid as the host, depending on where you are. But for the most part, when we go do a show, it's already understood the headline is the person who's getting paid the most or who is destined. When they call you, especially when you're at a status of D.L. and Monique, you kind of ask for those things. You say, well, am I closing the show, or I need to close the show? If that's something that you ask for, which it seems to be clear on Monique's part that she asked for that, then she should have, that's something she should have taken up with the promoter. But instead, because of the underlying beef, and she thought maybe he was being a little salty, a little shady, because that happens too. A lot of comics, you know, I ain't coming till late, or let me do this. There's a lot of shady business that goes on at these comedy shows, and comics trying to get on before the other one because they're scared to go on after it flip flops. It's not just a headlining thing; it's just a positioning thing. Stay in a position and they both should have been told ahead of time who was headlining that. That's nobody's asking that question. Who were you told was going on? Were you told you were going on last, or were you told you were going on last? Now, if they both were told the same story, then it's the promoter. But if DL knew he was going on before her, then he wrong.
Can a promoter set the order?
Absolutely. You paying the money.
Is this written in a contract? Is set in paper?
Yeah, a lot of the times it is. I think if you saw some of the documents that DL kind of posted, it said that this person I've never seen it written up like that I have to be the headliner and I have to be paid the most or whatever. Like, I mean, it's just understood sometimes. But
so one was a deal agreement, one was a contract. One had like a disagreement, and then one had an actual contract.
Oh,
what
okay.
I understand. That's what it looked like. So I don't know. The promoter probably fucked that whole thing up. And then
yeah, most promoters, they come from a place where they just, they take some money that they got from a car accident or some shit.
Oh man,
I'm about to come up. But nah, it all depends on the situation. But yeah, and just like men with women and women with men, people lie to everybody. They tell two people the same thing. Yeah. They both probably told them both, like, I just want to get both of y'all. So in order to get both of them, they probably could have promised both of them a headliner spot. And they said, well, we'll work it out when we get there. They make it. I'm giving them both $20,000, $30,000 each. Why they gonna come? That's what they think. But these people make money like that all the time, so it really matters to them. Mm-hmm. So that's probably something that happened that and then it exploded with Monique going in on DL.
I gotta give.
Go ahead, D.
I gotta give DL big ups because after she roasted him, he had to go still on stage. And that got to be hard, bro.
Yeah, Yeah.
So I don't know if that ever happened to you. Somebody you ever had beef with before, Rudy, and then you came on and still had to do your thing.
I do push-ups. They don't mess with me too much. I just be on it like, yo, you we good? I put my hand in people's chest. You good? No, Rudy. He just said, I'm like, all right, yeah.
Rudy, you add a little extra pressure when you put it on the chest.
That's it. That's all you gotta do. Because you want to feel your heartbeat. Like, yo, we good? What you say about me on stage? You said something, you said my joke, they be like, nah, Rudy.
When it comes to the business, they have like, let's say you'll see a show at the Barclays or something like that. And it look like they'll put 15 comics on there. Is it a thing where sometimes it's too, like they just stack everybody? I don't know if they want everybody respective fan base to come for an arena show, but sometimes it seems like they just put a lot of comics on. Is that sometimes a thing with you where you don't want to be on with too many people? Is there a limit that you'd like?
Yeah, for me, I think a show that's pretty good, a good flowing show, has at the most 4 people, maybe 5. If the host is, work their salt, they could do their thing and then have 4 people come on and it goes flawlessly. Like I just did a show in DC with Tony Roberts, the kid from social media, Ryan Davis, the young lady from Chicago, Just Niche, and I was on the show with Royale Watkins as the host. It was perfect. We did 2 shows. They were great shows. I think when they do something at the Barclays, they take advantage of a city like New York that people were just going to come in droves regardless. They want to get out. New York was one of the places hardest hit by the pandemic. So when you say we outside, New York is outside for real. So you're going to put in order to have a show of a certain caliber, you got to fill all of it. For the Barclays to be full, you got to put 18,000 people in a fan base in there. Mm-hmm. So that's why you get shows like that. It rarely happens around the country unless there's a festival in Los Angeles. You got some big names or something like that. But I've never seen anything like what you're talking about with like Rip Michaels and all of these cats. Like, what? You don't even get on that at Caroline's. How you get on at Barclays?
Yeah.
You don't even get a weekend at Caroline's. So, I'm sure there's a bunch of comics that you haven't seen. And shout out to T.I., by the way. I heard you mention him earlier. He got booed, but you know what? He's a real comic now because he was talking about it in Atlanta a few weeks later, and that's the best thing you can do is just get it out your system and keep trudging. So I'm with T.I. right now.
Did he do okay when he went to Atlanta and did it?
Nah, he was excellent. He went on. I think he went on. I was hosted, so he went on right before I believe I brought Bill Bellamy on. And he did really good. He talked about his life, things that people knew about. He was self-deprecating. It was everything that you want a comic to be. He was like, he said some funny stuff. Like he was looking in the audience, everybody. He said he never been booed by 20,000 people. He said, and his wife was out there booing him too. That was like, like a little spice on. It was funny. So people really, sympathized with it and laughed with him. He was able to laugh at himself because he's usually a really serious cat. I met him on several occasions, and I wasn't quite sure as a man how how we are. Like you see somebody like, I'm gonna stay away from this cat because I'm not sure his energy is not right for dudes. You know what I'm saying? But now that he's doing comedy, he's understanding a lot of different things. So yeah, I give him props. He's gonna be good if he continues to keep doing it. I think he's gonna do well.
Maybe he should get a writer or two.
Yeah, he could because he could afford it. But writing is so difficult. You got to really watch somebody. So he's got to really establish himself as a comic first before he can actually get somebody to write for him. Or he might be somebody who could just take a joke and just make it into something funny. But I'm not sure. I'm just speaking from my own perspective.
Rudy, what do you think about this culture of people storming the stage now? What do you think about? I guess with Dave Chappelle obviously being tackled, are you concerned when you're on stage now, or is there a different heightened awareness with the room now where you're at or your material?
No, I'm not really concerned because sometimes, like for me, my material is not based upon banter back and forth with the crowd. So I really don't get into a one-on-one. If I do, I try to handle it with security right off top. If it's somebody who's out of control. But if it were to happen, like let's just say somebody stormed and the only thing I would be upset about is I didn't see him coming. I don't want to be caught and then I don't want that to happen. I'm not too much afraid of my personal.
You do push-ups.
Yeah, I do push. I'm ready. I'll be like, I ain't on no MMA. I box and everything like that. But I'm not, I'm an older gentleman though, because I'm 48. So I really got 2 fights left, and I kind of save them for my kids. I'm trying to save them. I got 2 good swings left, and I got a bad ankle. I don't know what's going to happen after that. So I'm going to save my 2 fights. So please, if you come to my show, stay your ass in your seat.
Yeah.
And this is all special effects. This just look good naked when you making love to your lady. That's all this is. That's the only reason why I do push-ups now.
Man, we gotta get Rudy a fucking. We need a TV special with Rudy. TV special, this motherfucker.
Oh man,
No, we can find him. We can find him a role in Slave Ghosts.
Yeah, we
Oh,
have
yeah, that's
a movie
something
called
we have
Slave
something-
Ghost.
we got a project in the works.
Yeah.
That is hilarious. But no, it looks like right now, you know, obviously what happened at the Oscars and stuff like that. That I don't know if this, you know, comedy it's supposed to be the world's toy store. That's where you go to. I mean, go to have fun, and I don't know what. But I guess the temperature of the world is so different now. There's anger just permeating. So
it is. And it's funny, like, you know, like just like this story with D.L. and Monique, and you say you got to kind of peel back the layers and see how far it goes. I'll tell you all a funny story. I was just in Ohio hanging out with Dave Chappelle, Donnell Rollins. Shout out to those dudes. We was out in Yellow Springs doing some shows out there for Memorial Day weekend. And it's just funny how cats just pop out in the cornfield. I don't know how the hell that happened, but I guess he was performing about maybe 40 minutes away. Marlon Wayans pops up in this little spot that we just have in this little, you know, the speakeasy little after spot where Dave has in his hometown. It was dope. So, you know, just imagine being in a little room. I mean, like a shed, and then you got a DJ, you got Chappelle in there, you got Rudy Rush, you got Donnell Rollins, and then Marlon Wayans coming. We all just reminiscing. But this young lady who went to the show, she said something that was really, really something like, so everybody's all about Chris Rock getting smacked by Will Smith. Well, Marlon is telling a story during his set now that he had stopped doing comedy for almost 20 years. When he first started, he was 18. See, a lot of us remember Marlon just kind of got into comedy because he was doing all those movies and stuff like that. But the thing that stopped him from doing comedy 20 years ago, that Chris Rock was in the audience and literally heckled and booed him and it sent him into this like septic kind of shock to make him not want to get on stage anymore. I think that's a horrible thing for a comic to do to another comedian. I mean, it's one thing for an idiot who don't know no better, but it's another thing for someone who, especially if it's someone who's your colleague, and at the time, Chris Rock was a made guy, for him to do that, it fast forwards to the point like, it may have been time for somebody to step to you in an orderly or disorderly fashion. You know what I mean? So, I don't know.
And you know what's so weird about that? Chris Rock comes from the Eddie Murphy tree. Eddie Murphy and Keenan been friends since they were teenagers. So you would think there'd be some level of loyalty, but it apparently just doesn't work like that.
Nah, sometimes there's jealousy. I could go down the line of dudes that I'm cool with now, but when I started doing things like Showtime at the Apollo, maybe pulling up to the club with a convertible Mercedes-Benz off the showroom floor, you get treated a little different. You know what I'm saying? So the people who you thought was your homies, you know, they kind of get a little jealous. And I think that maybe at the time, Chris wasn't popping until he did Bigger and Blacker. He was in his 30s when he did that. So him and Marlon are not far in age. So maybe he was a young dude just jealous. I don't know what it was, but what would make him do that? But it just lends to the idea that Chris Rock kind of picks scabs until somebody boils over, and something like that happens with Will Smith, who was going through the ultimate disrespect that any black man has ever gone through in the history of social media ever. You can't tell me that wasn't the worst. So you get that dude, and you trying to pick that pimple. Right. When that joint pop, you see all kinds of pus and blood. You like, hey, you got a frog in there? With everything.
No, Rudy, I'll tell you this. Let me say this. I don't believe that stand-up necessarily can be learned by people. I think the mechanics can be learned, but I don't think certain people are stand-ups. I think Keenan is a stand-up. I think Damon is a stand-up. I don't think Marlon is a stand-up, and I don't think Sean is a stand-up. And they hosted the MTV Awards one time.
Oh yeah,
and it was it was painful. I mean, and I can't even find it on YouTube. I think they had to take it down. And I wouldn't ask you to comment on it. I'm just saying I don't think it's inherited. I don't think they're stand-ups. I think they're comedic actors. But the two younger brothers, I just don't think they're stand-ups.
So I'll say this. That you have a point, but I think that it's all about the reps. So I've been, I talk to Bill Bellamy all the time because I've been on a tour with him just the past like 6-7 months or so. And he's a person who I consider like Chris Rock. I'm gonna take the two of them. Both of them got snatched up so early. You know what I'm saying? Chris Tucker. Chris Tucker got Friday. He was gone. They didn't have to do what I have to do, going on the road and getting those reps in. Because before then, like D will tell you, Bill used to host a spot called the Peppermint Lounge in Jersey. It was the best club ever. You had to be the best. Everybody who did Def Jam had to come there, and Bill was that dude. But then when he got on MTV, started doing movies and television, he lost it a little bit because he wasn't doing the reps, like working out. You got boobs like D now. You know what I'm saying? Your body started looking like D after the surgery.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But so to Marlon's defense, I think the more he got on stage, the better he would have gotten. And he's now getting to that point. I don't think I'm much of your opinion. I'm not a fan. I'm a friendly guy, but I'm not a fan. I'm not to be disrespectful, but I wouldn't pay to see Marlon. But Damon is the dog in that family. Like he's the guy. Damon's the dog. Like he is the OG. He's stand up personified. He was on Saturday Night Live, and people don't even know that. So but I give Marlon credit for effort. He's much like a Nick Cannon to me. Them dudes, you cannot kill them. They will not stop. They just keep coming back and reinventing themselves. They say I'm going to be a part of comedy, and I give them that. But as far as anything, if somebody say he going on before you, I'm like, okay.
Oh man, so Rudy, man, listen, man, we thank you again. But Rudy, what's going on? What's going on with you, man? Where can we find you at right now, man?
Yo, you can find me at Rudy Rush. So there's a lot of things going on, but I'm gonna keep it really simple. I got two shows that I'm producing right now. One is called Rush to the Bathroom. It's a show that is going to be about remodeling bathrooms. It's going to be pretty dope. It's dope. We're trying to hit Middle America with that joint. And then what I also have another show called it's like celebrities playing games, and then it's like Drink Champs meet celebrity game night out. You know what I'm saying? So it's called Cookout Games. We cook, we drink, we play spades, Uno, whatever the game is chosen, and we have like a table of 4 celebrities. I'll host it. We have some fun with that. I'll be on tour right now with Bill Bellamy throughout the rest of the summer and through the fall. Got some big concerts going on. I just started a concert company called GK Rush, so you can check that out. That's going to be crazy. We're doing concerts here in Dallas and around the country. So everything is coming together. It's pretty cool.
Nice.
Good.
Congratulations.
Very good. Very good.
Yeah.
Happy for you, brother. Happy for you.
We love you, Rudy Rush, man. What you
want to say? Wait. I got a big hosting gig. I'm hosting for free. My man's getting married in Jamaica, and I'm gonna be there hosting.
I don't know what that is, man. We'll talk about that later on, man. All right, man. Peace, man. Yo. What's up? If you like what you're seeing from the 4 brothers here, give us a thumbs up. Like and subscribe to the channel so you can stay notified when we go live and post new content. Thank you for the support.